Have you ever wondered why some people seem to move forward relentlessly with an endless source of energy, while others, perhaps including you, feel stuck in place despite putting in so much effort? You work every day, you hope for a brighter future, yet it feels as if some invisible string is holding you back in stagnation. There is a harsh truth I learned after years of observing the laws of success. Life only puts pressure on you when you are living too small. Imagine a seed buried deep in the ground. It is silent, alone, and covered by heavy layers of soil and rock. That is tremendous pressure. Yet it is precisely that pressure from the darkness that forces the sprout to break through, to push past the hardened earth and reach for the light. If that seed chose comfort, it would forever remain a withered, rotting seed beneath the soil. I still remember the early years of my career when I was a young man full of passion but lacking discipline. I waited for a lucky opportunity, waited for the economy to change, waited for someone to come along and unlock my potential, but nothing happened. Until one day I realized a truth that changed the entire course of my life. If you don't create pressure for yourself to grow, the world will use pressure to crush you. True success does not come from external noise, but from the quiet momentum you build every day through self-discipline. In today's video, I want to share with you 8 golden principles that will help you turn pressure into power, principles that teach you how to place yourself into training mode before life forces you into crisis mode. Together, we will explore how to create deadlines for your life, how to raise your personal standards, and how to act as if there is no way back. And you should stay until the very end of this video, because principle number 7 that I'm about to share is the ultimate key that can instantly change the entire trajectory of your life. Are you ready to become the architect of the pressures that create diamonds? Let's begin this journey right now. Principle 1, awakening through the pain of standing still. There is an unchanging law of the universe that I want you to remember clearly. We human beings only truly change when the pressure is great enough. Look at the trees in your garden. Why do they drive their roots deep into the earth? It's not because they enjoy darkness. It's because the pressure of summer winds and the dryness of the soil force them to search for water at deeper levels. Without environmental pressure, the root system would remain shallow and the tree would collapse in the very first storm. Human beings are exactly the same. Have you ever wondered why most people live average lives? Why they have grand dreams yet wake up every day and do exactly the same things as yesterday? The answer lies here. The pain of standing still is not yet great enough for them. They still feel warm enough, fed enough, and safe enough. But remember my words, that sense of safety is a dangerous illusion. It's like sitting on an iceberg in the middle of the ocean. You feel comfortable because the surface is flat. But you fail to realize that ocean currents are pulling you farther from shore, and the sunlight is quietly melting the foundation beneath your feet. If you don't create pressure to steer your own boat right now, then when the iceberg fully melts, the pressure of the freezing water will force you to swim. And by then, you may no longer have the strength. I often tell the story of my own life years ago. At that time, I was a young father working hard but always broke. One day, a young Girl Scout knocked on my door selling cookies. She was very polite and said the money would go to charity. The cookies cost just $2. I really wanted to buy them. Truly, I did. But the bitter truth was, I didn't even have $2 in my pocket. Instead of being honest, I lied and told her I've already bought cookies from the other girls. When she left, I stood frozen behind the door. That was the moment when the pain of poverty and of dishonesty reached its peak. The pressure was so heavy, it pressed on my chest. I said to myself, I cannot live like this for one more day. That was the moment I changed. Not because I found a golden opportunity, but because the cost of standing still had become far more expensive than the cost of change. Many people ask me, Jim, how do I find motivation when my life is still okay right now? My answer is this: you must learn how to create assumed pain. Don't wait until your bank account hits zero to learn how to save. Don't wait until your health collapses to go to the gym. And never wait until life backs you into a corner before you start fighting back. A wise person looks into the future and feels the pain of failure in advance if they do not act today. Ask yourself, if I continue this habit for the next 5 years, what will happen to my family? Where will my career go? When you turn those visions into present pressure, you gain the power to break stagnation. Look at the successful entrepreneurs I've met. Why do they work 14 hours a day? Is it because they love money? Not exactly. Most of them act under the pressure of survival or the pressure of a promise. A young insurance salesman may not enjoy being rejected every day. But the pressure of paying the electric bill, the pressure of buying his child a new pair of shoes, that is what makes him pick up the phone for the 100th time. He placed himself in a no-way-back position before society could discard him. I've also gone through periods of complacency. I thought I knew enough, had done enough. And every time I stopped, life immediately sent me a harsh test to remind me, Jim, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. Success is not a fixed destination, it is a current. And pressure is the engine that drives your boat against that current. Going upstream is always difficult, but it is the only way to avoid being swept over the waterfall. But you know, there is a huge difference between being pushed by life and taking the wheel yourself. And that is exactly what I want to share with you in the next principle, where we learn to distinguish between a destructive crisis and intentional pressure that creates victory. Principle 2, the difference between proactive and reactive pressure. In life, there are two kinds of pressure. One will elevate you and the other will crush you. The difference lies in a single word, proactive. Most people out there are waiters. They wait until overdue bills pile up. They wait until their health sends warning signals. Or they wait until their boss says, we no longer need you. That is when life applies pressure. And when life applies pressure, it shows no mercy. Reactive pressure is like a flash flood. It is sudden, chaotic, and it washes away everything you've built. But winners are different. Winners know how to create deadlines for themselves. Imagine you are a marathon runner. If you only run when a tiger is chasing you, you run in panic. But if you set a goal to finish 26.2 miles, within a specific time you are running with the posture of a champion. I've learned this. Proactive pressure is the heat required to forge a fine sword. Without heat, steel remains ordinary metal. You must light your own fire. You must tell yourself, I have to finish this by Friday, even when your boss says it's not due until next week. Why is this important? Because when you create your own pressure, you take control of the game. You are training your discipline muscle in a controlled environment. You are preparing for storms before the dark clouds arrive. Remember this, average people wait for life to push them. Winners create deadlines. Never let life be the only one setting deadlines for your dreams. Principle 3, the law of low standards. There is a painful truth. Without pressure, human beings tend to sink to their lowest standards. We become lenient with ourselves when no one is watching, when no demanding goal is hanging over our heads. Without pressure, you sleep 15 more minutes in the morning. Without pressure, you skip a gym session. Without pressure, you allow yourself to do work that is just good enough. And you know what happens next? Low standards lead to a low-quality life. I've met incredibly talented people living dull lives. Why? Because they never placed themselves in challenges big enough to force that talent to emerge. They chose the path of least resistance. But the path of least resistance always leads to a wasteland of regret. Pressure is the tool that raises your standards. When you place yourself under a strict deadline, you force your brain to operate at a different frequency. There is no time for laziness, no room for excuses. You begin to work with a level of precision and commitment you never thought you were capable of. Don't fear pressure. Fear idleness. Idleness will kill your ambition faster than any hardship. Pressure does not destroy you. It reveals who you truly are and what you are capable of. If you feel too comfortable, that's when you should worry. That's when you must set a new goal, a new challenge, a new pressure to pull yourself out of the comfort zone. Because on the other side of pressure lies the best version of yourself. If these lessons truly resonate with you, hit subscribe now to continue this journey with me, where we explore principles that help you go further every single day. Don't let these philosophies remain just passing words. Let them become part of the script of your success. Principle 4, the power of absolute focus. Have you ever seen sunlight on a sweltering summer day? It spreads everywhere, warming your skin, yet it cannot pierce anything. But if you take a magnifying glass and concentrate all those rays onto a single point on a piece of paper, something miraculous happens. The paper ignites. That is the power of focus. And do you know what creates the magnifying glass in your life? Deadlines. A deadline is not a terrifying enemy chasing you. See it as a focusing lens. When there is no time pressure, your mind is like scattered rays of sunlight. You work for a bit, then check the news, grab a cup of coffee, then drift off into daydreams about the future. The result is that your energy is spread thin and nothing truly gets finished. But when you place yourself under clear time pressure, everything changes. Your mind is suddenly pushed into a state I call survival thinking. You begin filtering out noise. Phone notifications stop mattering. Side conversations lose all meaning. At that moment, there is only you and the goal in front of you. Time pressure forces you to prioritize what truly creates value and discard everything unnecessary. I once knew a young writer who always told me he wanted to write a timeless book. A year passed and he still had only a few draft pages. He said he needed inspiration. I told him, my friend, inspiration is a lazy guest. You can't sit around waiting for it. You have to force it to work by setting a non-negotiable deadline. And he did. He rented a small room and promised himself that if he didn't produce a complete manuscript within 30 days, he would pay a heavy penalty to a friend. Do you know what happened? That pressure transformed him into a different person. His focus became razor sharp like a laser beam. He no longer needed inspiration because the deadline became the most powerful source of inspiration. Remember this, a scattered beam of light does nothing but a focused laser can cut through steel. Don't let your life drift away in dull distraction. Use the pressure of deadlines to concentrate your power into a single point. Only then will you discover the true strength hidden inside you, and that is the foundation for moving to a higher level of responsibility where you face not only yourself but the world. Principle 5, public commitment, the bridge with no way back. There is a technique I have used many times throughout my career, and it has always produced astonishing results: public commitment. Most people fail because they only make promises to themselves. When you promise only yourself, backing out is easy. You say, tomorrow I'll start waking up early. But when the alarm goes off, you negotiate, I'm tired today, sleeping a little more won't hurt. No one knows about the promise, so there is no pressure of embarrassment or loss of credibility. You quietly allow yourself to fail. But what happens if you announce it to your friends, colleagues, and family? What happens if you tell everyone, by this date, I will achieve goal X? Suddenly, the pressure increases tenfold. Now, it's not just about the goal, it's about self-respect, honor, and your reputation in the eyes of others. Public commitment is how you build a bridge and burn it immediately after crossing. There is no way back. There is only one path forward: keep your word. I call this the pressure of positive pride. Every human being wants respect. Everyone wants to keep their word. When you make your goal public, you mobilize your entire sense of self-worth as fuel. I once witnessed an entrepreneur whose business was declining. He stood in front of all his employees and announced a record revenue target the company would reach in the next quarter. He boxed himself in. He could not retreat because all eyes were on him. The pressure was so intense it forced him and his team to operate at a level of performance they had never thought possible. And the result? They exceeded the target. Don't keep big dreams to yourself out of fear of failure. The fear of failing in front of others is often the pressure that pushes you to the finish line faster than anything else. Have the courage to speak your goals out loud. Let the world become your supervisor. But be careful, this pressure has a dark side if you don't understand it correctly. In the next part, I will help you see why pressure is not meant to destroy you, but to show the world what you are truly made of. Principle 6. Pressure does not destroy, it reveals you. There is a dangerous misunderstanding that most people have. They see pressure as an enemy, as a burden waiting to break their will. Let me offer you a different perspective, one rooted in the laws of nature. Look at coal and diamonds. Chemically, they are almost identical. So what creates the difference between something that burns briefly and something that becomes a timeless treasure of humanity? The answer is pressure. A diamond is not naturally radiant. It endured enormous pressure from thousands of tons of earth and extreme heat deep underground for millions of years. That pressure did not destroy its structure. Instead, it compressed its molecules into a powerful bond, creating breathtaking clarity and strength. Human beings are no different. When life is calm, when there are no deadlines, no harsh challenges, we appear stable. But that is only the stability of dull coal. Only when pressure strikes, when you are pushed into tight situations, when everything seems to be against you, does your true nature reveal itself. I have seen many people speak of perseverance when things are going well. But when a financial crisis hits or a critical project collapses, they fall apart and blame fate. Pressure didn't weaken them, it simply revealed that they had never built a solid foundation inside. On the other hand, I have seen individuals who quietly trained in silence. When pressure weighed on their shoulders, they didn't complain or quit. They used that force to think sharper, work with greater discipline, and refine themselves. And from the ashes of hardship, they emerged radiant like diamonds that had been polished. So from now on, when you feel pressed by big goals, suffocating deadlines, or life's expectations, don't complain. Smile and say, this is the moment I find out what I'm made of. Let pressure carve away laziness, bad habits, and negative thinking. Remember, this pressure does not break you. It is simply conducting a test to reveal who you truly are. But if you are wondering, how can I make sure I never retreat when pressure reaches its peak? The answer lies in an ancient military strategy I'm about to share next. This is principle number 7, the ultimate key I promised you from the very beginning. It will turn pressure from a choice into the only path to survival and victory. Principle 7, the no way back principle. My friend, we have walked through 6 lessons about pressure. But this is the moment I want you to be fully awake. Because this is not just a principle, it is a philosophy of survival. It is the line that separates those who merely want success from those who must succeed. I call it the no way back principle. In ancient military history, there is a classic story of a general who led his army to conquer a distant island. As soon as the soldiers landed, they saw a vast and ferocious enemy waiting for them. Fear began to spread. The soldiers glanced back toward the ships anchored at the harbor and thought, if this battle's too difficult, we still have a way home. And do you know what the general did? He gave an order that shocked everyone. Burn all the ships. As flames rose and destroyed any hope of retreat, the general turned to his troops and said, now either we win and return on the enemy's ships, or we fall here. There is no other option. And you already know the outcome. When people are pushed into a position of no way back, when death or devastating failure becomes the only alternative to effort, an extraordinary power and an extreme level of focus erupt from deep within. They won not because they had greater numbers, but because they had to win. In modern life, what are your ships? They are the job you hate but keep because it gives you a false sense of security. They are the small savings you tell yourself, if this business fails, I still have something to fall back on. They are procrastination born from the belief that you still have plenty of time. These ships are killing your dreams. They allow you to live an average life. They allow laziness. They allow you to quit at the first sign of difficulty. I want you to learn how to burn your own ships. If you want to become an entrepreneur, put yourself in a position where you can no longer go back to being an employee. If you want to transform your body, commit to an intense training program and pay for an entire year up front. Create a level of pressure where failure would cause so much pain that you refuse to let it happen. Think back to the times you worked at your highest level. Wasn't it when you had only 24 hours left to complete a project that was supposed to take a month? That was the moment your time ship burned. You had no choice but total focus. So why wait for life to burn your ships for you? Why not light the fire yourself today? Many people say to me, Jim, isn't that too risky? What if I burn the ships and fail? My answer is this: the greatest risk in life is not failure, it is living a life where you never discover your true limits. When you leave yourself an escape route, you send a silent signal to your brain that says, I don't need to give my all. And the universe never rewards half-hearted effort. Creating pressure by cutting off retreat is an act of absolute faith in yourself. It is saying, I believe in this goal so deeply that I am willing to stake my safety on it. When you act as if there is no way back, resources begin to shift around you. Solutions you never imagined appear. Energy you never felt before surges within you. I have burned my ships many times. When I decided to leave a stable job to pursue a speaking career, I left myself no plan B. I knew that if I failed, I would have nothing. And it was precisely that pressure to survive that forced me to learn, to train, and to become better every single day. That pressure did not destroy me, it shaped who I am today. So your assignment today is this: identify the ship that is keeping you trapped in your comfort zone and burn it. Write down your goals, set a non-negotiable deadline, commit to the people you respect most, and begin acting as if your life depends on it. Because only when the ship behind you has turned to ashes will you have the courage to claim the island of your future. And when you are standing on that island, when you are in the middle of the battle of career and life, how do you keep the fire alive without burning out? How does pressure become a compass instead of a burden? We now arrive at the final lesson, where we set a deadline for the greatest goal of an entire lifetime. Principle 8, a deadline for the greatest goal. We have talked about burning ships, focus, and public commitments. But there is one final pressure, objective and fair, that none of us can escape: the finiteness of time. The greatest tragedy of life is not that we fail to reach our goals, but that we live as if we have 1,000 years to wait. We say, someday I'll write that book, someday I'll start my own business, someday I'll spend time with my family. But I have bad news for you on life's calendar: there is no day called someday. You must set a deadline for the greatest goal of your life. Why? Because without a clear deadline, dreams remain nothing more than illusions. A deadline turns vague desire into a concrete action plan. It is the ticking clock reminding you that your time is running out. Try this exercise. Don't look only at this year's goals. Look at your lifetime goals. If you are 30, how many peak years do you have left? If you are 50, how many springs remain to fulfill unfinished dreams? When you see the number, an invisible pressure settles on your shoulders, but it is not negative pressure. It is the pressure of appreciation. It makes you realize that every morning you wake up is a non-repeatable opportunity. It robs you of patience for hours in front of the television or wasted time in meaningless arguments. I once met a wealthy man who owned everything others dreamed of. I asked him, what keeps you working so hard at 70? He looked at me and said, Jim, I don't work for money anymore. I work because I know my life's deadline is approaching. I want to squeeze out every last drop of my potential before the curtain falls. That is the mindset of someone who understands time pressure. Don't wait until your hair is gray and your strength is gone to regret what you never did. Set milestones, 5 years, 10 years, even 20. Write them down. Place them where you will see them every day. Let the pressure of finiteness push you forward. Act with calculated urgency, not frantic panic, but not complacent delay. Move with the rhythm of someone who knows exactly where they are going and exactly how much time they have left. Because in the end, the greatest pressure you will ever face is not from your boss, society, or competitors. It is the pressure from your future self, the one standing at the end of the road asking, what did you do with the gifts life gave you? Now we have walked through all 8 principles of power and pressure. But understanding alone is not enough. Knowledge without action is like a seed left in your pocket. It will never sprout. In the closing that follows, I will help you bring everything together and take the first, most powerful step toward creating pressure for yourself starting today. My friend, we have traveled a long journey of thought together, from understanding that people change only when the pain of standing still becomes unbearable, to burning ships and confronting the finiteness of time. Remember, this pressure is not the enemy. It is the universe's gift to those who hunger for greatness. If you choose comfort today, life will give you hardship tomorrow. But if you choose pressure and discipline today, life will give you freedom and glory tomorrow. Do not leave this video and return to old habits. Do not let my words fade into empty echoes. I have one question for you, a question that can change your entire trajectory right now. What is the real deadline for the greatest goal of your life? Do not answer vaguely. Write it down. Choose a specific day, month, and year, and from that moment on, act as if every bridge behind you has been burned. Work with the focus of a laser, the responsibility of a public commitment, and the awareness of someone who knows that time is the most precious asset of all. As I often say, we must all suffer one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Which will you choose? I believe that because you stayed until this very moment, you already know your answer. If today's lessons have value, hit like and share them with someone who needs an awakening. Don't forget to subscribe to Jim Rohn Treasures so we can continue this journey together toward new heights. You and I share one common gift today. Use it wisely. Create pressure to bloom like a diamond instead of fading like ashes. I truly appreciate you staying until the end of this video. Leave a comment below if you commit to creating pressure for yourself starting today. I look forward to reading your resolve. Goodbye, and I'll see you again on future journeys of wisdom. Everything great begins with a small decision. Today may be that day for you.